Hey guys, welcome to the channel. If you've been following along the last couple of weeks, we have been focusing on videos on creation, giving certain areas, certain jobs, defining what certain terms mean, transition over a corridor. So in the last video that we loaded, guys, I went into great detail with a pretty long video about the doe bedding area and just exactly what doe bedding really means to a property, especially a small property. Keep in mind, last year my average property was around 50 acres. This year my average, as it sits right now, is going to be quite a bit higher than that. I've got some really good sized properties coming up this year. Looking forward to. The average property is 40 acres and less, in most years. So this can all work on small properties. This can all work on the large properties. It's just a kind of a process that has to fit each and every one. So as we are on the property, this is just not a recommendation, which is kind of a separate topic that we're going to touch on here coming down the road. But these are actually something that we build with each other, and we are looking for when we are on the property we are designing. So if you're on the 2022 client list this year and you're already booked, or you're looking to have that get on the remaining spots that are left for the 2022 season, this is what you have to look forward to. These are what we are dissecting as we are going. This is how we're trying to find that perfect stand location. So the reason that I went down that road with you guys is just so we can kind of touch on what creates and what we are looking for when these what we're looking for in these stands, and what they mean to us. Now, and it all hinges, like I said, no pun intended, but it all hinges on the fact of where all this placement is, where your doe bedding is, where your food plot is. You got screening on your food plot, you got some buck cruising, security, opportunity now on this side of the plot. How this all relates to where the stand assemblage is. I get this question a lot, and I just did the last video the other night there, uploaded it, and soon after I had some questions. Okay, it really makes sense, but where do I hang my stand? Because it really resonates with folks. So it was perfect timing, and like I said, guys, you can see this process that we're doing here to try to keep you in this building mindset and design mindset, so to try to help you guys that are building these on your own, to give you some real good in-depth detail here. So what we're looking for, guys, is after this is created, the does are handled, we know where they're at, we've got your doe bedding corridors built, you've got your doe bedding pockets, your cubicles inside of those promoted, you've got the right density, and like I said, you've got your plot out here, you've got the screening to work with this. So what we're going to do, guys, is what we're first stand that I'm looking for is when I come out of a food source, that we came in just the opposite end of this. We're coming in on the transition, on your transition. Most of the time your transition comes in one side of your food plot and out the other, hence the reason that it's just promoting that line of travel. And then what we do is we come out of the food plot, guys, and we are transferring down. And this all depends. I mean, if this is a ridge, I've got one here on the farm here in Kentucky, that's only about 30 yards off the side of the food plot, because the contour permits that, and I can get in there, and it makes for a great evening sit. The closer that you are to the food source, the more that this first stand here becomes a PM sit, because obviously if we're pushing the envelope and you're too close to that food source, and then you got to worry about, especially when there's no contour, what you have to worry about is blowing deer off that food source. So this is a access from past the plot, that is secured access past the plot. Good screening, contour hopefully is right. We're getting you in past that first initial, or wherever that plot lays on the property. We're getting you in here, and we're accessing from the outside in to the stand location. 75 yards, I got approximately 75 yards, 100 yards, whatever that case may be, that you feel comfortable that in the evening or in the morning, the further you get away, the more that this potential becomes a morning sit, and we're gonna talk about this as we go. So you get in here and you're not blowing the food source off. So if you can get in the morning, if you know that you're not blowing the deer out of that food source, then that's a step in the right direction. You've jumped one hurdle. If it's a PM sit and you know that you can get past this food source, because the deer should not be out in it, and they're in behind the screening, and your does are in the doe bedding area, and you can get past in, well, then you jump the second hurdle. So you make sure, like I said, it all hinges on, no pun intended, it all hinges on where the food source is, where the doe bedding is at, how you get past this, and how you get in and out of the stand location. I've got multiple stands here on the farm here in Kentucky, guys, that I've actually got doe bedding to the outside because of contour and on the inside. So I really have to watch my access, and one of the reasons is a lot of these stands are perfect for PM stands, but I can't get into them. So we're going to talk further down the road how you get into that certain part of the farm. I can't get in because it goes right through a dense spot of the farm. And yes, they're below the transition. And yes, I need to be hunting off that line of movement in the PM. But I can't get between mine and the neighbor's bedding area that's just naturally there. So I only have to access these in the morning. So we're going to talk about the stand setup here in just a minute, guys, about how you hunt those. Don't push the envelope. If you can't get into your property because of the habitat that permits, and you're going to blow something out, whether it's on the food source or in a bedding area between you and the neighbor, whatever the case is, don't push the envelope. There is multiple opportunities elsewhere in multiple days to make things work. Don't be impatient. Don't blow these out. I see 64 clients last year, guys, 40 some the year before, designing 20, building 20 in years past before that. I've seen multiple stands, probably, out of 64 clients last year, upwards of 80 this year with the stuff that we're doing here on the farm, guys. I'm here to tell you that I have seen some of the most powerful stand locations in the country on 20 and 40 acre properties that aren't worth a hoot, because folks are getting into them, or have never produced, because folks are getting busted before the game even gets started. The game's over before you even get in the tree stand, even though you're not tunking anything, or it's not loud, you're not metal to metal contact on stands. You might be accessing this with no light, whatever the case is. The game is blown because your access is poor. So make sure them two things are in connection with each other as far as your access and knowing where this creation is. If this creation is something that you're building, make sure that if you have a question, make sure this is built interior further, or you give yourself some room so you have the opportunity to hunt these locations. So this stand here, guys, what we're doing is 100 yards off. We know we can get onto these food sources, like we said, without getting busted. One of the biggest things is this, because the reason that this stand is placed here 100 yards off, because what I'm looking for as we are going through the rest of the farm, we laid this out, we're continuing down the line of travel, the transition. We ribbon off your stand location, we go in, we pin and ribbon off your licking branch as well, which connects now the line of travel, and we continue on doing this. What we're doing, guys, is I'm always looking internal for areas that I can get you past this. I can cut your line of travel, and we can take an opportunity of some rut stand location, stuff like that. I'm always looking at a cut ditch or a big drainage or a non-deer area that happens to fall in here, or whatever the case is, that we can take advantage of rut stands, such as this one right here, that is behind this buck cruising corridor that goes out, and as the wind is coming against what you're trying to hunt in this location, and it's blowing the wind out behind these doe bedding areas here, guys. So this buck is cruising this, scent checking this doe bedding area. I'm looking for ponds, I'm looking for swamps, I'm looking for big cedar thickets, or something where there's not a lot of deer, or any deer, non-deer areas in here that I can get you between those non-deer areas, and put your back to that area and blow that scent out and across a big ravine, big steep cut in here, whatever that is to blow these in here so I can get you correct, because this, as you can see, creates one heck of a pinch point in here. These don't happen all the time, guys. So the problem with this is most people try to force this envelope and find these just to be behind the doe bedding and get the wind correct. But as you can see, as you're entering in here to make this stand correct, the wind has to be saturating all of this to get up there and around to make that work. So very, very crucial point is don't overlook these creations just to make this stand just because it's such a kind of a blown up term, if you will, a rut stand. Everybody thinks that you have to have a rut internal stand. If you can kill this deer here, don't force the envelope and try to pull one of these off. Anytime you go internal to the farm, it has to be right. And maybe it's only a stand that you hunt once or twice a year, but it has to be perfect. And those locations aren't out there as much as folks think they are, and you get yourself in trouble, you know, trying to push the envelope to create one of those spots. So always be looking for a spot like that. Always be thinking about how you get into a spot like that, but don't overlook the power of making it happen out here and manipulating, especially on private lands when we're able to manipulate this stuff. Don't overlook the power of building this on the outside. And we're going to we're going to continue on here with some stand ideas and placements here. The reason that we're putting this in here, guys, is because I'm tying this into what I referred to as the POI, the point of impact, right? So we always want to make sure that we are enhancing this point of impact to the most that we can possibly, you know, do. If this falls in that 75 yards, 100 yards, maybe it's the first stand off from the food plot. It's probably not a spot where I would initially look for and pick for a water hole. So building one of the biggest steps here is promoting that point of impact. The licking branch is your point of impact. Enhance it as much as you can. Be creative, because we're going to touch on a couple things right here, guys, that is all going to make sense. In most properties that I visit, it's a monoculture of something. It's a monoculture of TSI that has been improved as far as the timber itself, or it's a monoculture of brush, and it's just this whole area in here that we're talking about looking at a stand. It's like, where do you pick the stand location? How do you know what to look for? One, I'm a huge contour guy. I'm looking for contour. I'm looking for that certain hogback ridge. I'm looking for that pinch point. I'm looking for that funnel. I'm looking for them trails that are already converting somewhere on here. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to promote it. But if the wheel is promoted in here and it's too far internal, we have to bring it out here. You know, we are looking for that you know, that good movement. I'm looking for these trickle trails on the contour that's not doe saturated, that's on the outside, that they're already scent checking where them big heavy trails are. That's what I'm looking for when I'm you know, putting this stand assemblage for you guys and really promoting your tree stand locations. They all tie into the point of impact. This is a snake trail, 5 to 8 feet wide. Do not make these corridors the same size as your transition, guys. This has to be an edge that you're hunting into. You want this really to be a snake trail. One of the things we're going to touch on here, and I'm going to grab the orange pen just because of this, is this rim in here, guys. Remember this rim right in here, and I hate doing that because it kind of boogers up the whole thing here, but it's very important. Orange circle around that area, 75 yards, 50 yards. If there's no contour, maybe it's 100 yards. This area has to be treated very, very kindly. It has to be treated, like I always say, with kid gloves, is because if you get caught in this huge trap that's out there right now, and folks are doing this all over the industry, and it's mind-boggling to me, and I don't understand why they do this. A hinge cut is promoting side cover and promoting food, which promotes bedding. Do not hinge cut close to your stand locations. Now, the closer you can hinge cut those to there safely, yes, I'm all about it. From here out to buck bedding pockets, from here to the backside of the, you know, to make these more secluded, I'm all about it. But do not hinge cut within 75 yards of these tree stand, guys, or these licking branches, because what happens is a hinge cut promotes side cover, it promotes bedding, and you will get busted. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but sooner or later. I've got a couple folks that can attest to this. Clients that have had other consultants work on their properties that this is going to resonate with. You're going to get busted getting in and out of this tree stand. Like I said, it might not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but it'll happen at some point. So stand one here, this is what we're looking for, promoting the line of travel. What we're doing, guys, is we're building a buck bedding corridor here, the same as this, 5 to 8 feet wide, out to these buck bedding pockets. And what this buck bedding pocket is, like we'll talk, and we'll continue to talk on other videos, is a 30 to 50 foot in diameter pocket. A snake trail coming out of there that's hinged out of the mouth of it. Stop the hinge cutting. All this is kill cut coming in. This just debris on the ground, guys. So what you're seeing is, going back to what I touched on, usually this is a monoculture. So when we started doing all of these improvements, what you'll see is the reason that this tree stand location right here is so important versus pushing the envelope and trying to create a internal rut cruising stand, or a rut stand, only stand, is for this reason. You have a doe that's in this doe bedding pocket, this doe bedding cubicle. The wind now is right in your favor, coming from the core down. he comes in here, and he may not, like I said, he's going to come in here on an angle, whatever the wind is, to get this right, because there's some other hinge cuts up through here. He's going to be checking this area. Yes, the wind is in, not in his favor here, but what this sets up, guys, he comes down into here, this location, this buck bedding, or this pocket that we create out here that we touched on a separate video, that's right on the transition. Now he's coming behind it, and it's forcing him down on the transition. He knows the whole time he's working this creation, guys, he knows that he's setting himself up for this wind, whether it's an angling wind or a straight wind out of the north, whatever that case is. He's coming down through here, guys, and he's working this. He's getting the information at the licking branch. And so what, couple things, he's getting the information at the licking branch, he's continuing down the transition. Now he's setting himself up right, so he's got the wind in his favor, which makes this stand location explode. The easiest way to explain this is you've created 3 funnels now that you didn't have before. 3 funnels all focused towards the point of impact, exploding these stand locations. So not only do you have 3 funnels now that you didn't have before, what you have is you have a doe in here, like I said, that gets bumped, whether she's out here and he initially picks her up. She blows out of this doe bedding court, or this doe bedding pocket, so hopefully when he's using this creation that we did here with screening out here, he's tying into the transition, he's cruising in here, he blows the doe out, she comes running in, guys, and we're going to use, the purple marker here. She comes blowing out of here, and instead of just running through this wide open TSI timber stand, she comes through, and they will identify this side cover or this ground cover 30 to 50 yards before they get to it. She's going to blow in here, she has a pinch point, and it all funnels through the licking branch. Now if she's getting chased, obviously she's not going to stop, but if she blows out of here ahead of him and he goes in to try to find that, I've got some video here, I'll show you. He goes in here to pull her out of this pocket. Usually she's going to beat him out. She's going to come out. The best case scenario in the world is she stops right here at this licking branch and maybe urinates in the scrape and continues down the transition to another bedding pocket or another food source that you have created to hold her up in, and she's out of dodge and she's trying to beat him to the punch. Now if it's during the peak of the rut, he's going to be, it's going to be like trying to stop a Mack truck. You're going to be blowing a horn at him to try to get him to stop. But by having this debris on here, we are exploding the point of impact at these stand locations, guys. So there's a couple of stands options right there. Promote it and climb in there and enjoy the sit, guys. So a couple of stands that really jump out to me that I'm looking for, guys. I hope this sheds some light on what you can look for on your property, and it really explains this amenity right here, or this highlight, guys. These 3 these 3 funnels that you're creating should sell this whole diagram that we just laid out here for you. If you have a monoculture, if you have TSI that's been done in the past, and you have some structure to work with, this could be huge going into your 2022 hunting season, guys. Thanks.